actually going to get where like what makes religion and Judaism specifically unique in attaining happiness. And this is about specifically with regards to religion specifically. So, by the way, so just so you're aware, we're going to skip text 1 because this video is basically going to teach text 1 without having to read it. So this is about religion and the context of happiness, and so fascinating how much we've evolved as a society with regards to this topic.
During much of the 20th century, many psychologists did not regard Judaism or any religion as a positive contributor to a happy life. Sigmund Freud, the father of modern psychology, described religion as a neurosis that people go through in their passage from childhood to maturity. The extent to which many psychologists discounted the role of religion in people's lives is apparent in a study done in the 1980s by Peter Cohen. Cohen interviewed a group of ordained clergy who completed psychoanalytic training in the New York area. He asked the clergy how they dealt with their religion in the context of their training, which included psychoanalytic therapy sessions several times a week for numerous years. Rabbi Dr. Zvi Hirsch-Weinrab, a trained psychologist, describes the results.
His basic finding was fascinating. They did not discuss their religion. They realized that in a psychoanalytic treatment framework, religion was not something to talk about. So they didn't talk about it. Now it boggles the mind that a person who was so committed to his or her religion that they become clergy in their religion, to go through hundreds of hours of training in the most personal way, and just simply not address their religious practices, their religious beliefs.
In subsequent years, however, when researchers conducted actual studies on religion and happiness, many of the studies found that religion was beneficial for mental health and happiness. In the book Happiness, Unlocking the Mysteries of Psychological Wealth, published in 2008, psychologists Ed Diener and Robert Biswas-Diener write, in the vast majority of studies, religious people report higher well-being than their non-believing counterparts. Even when researchers define religiosity in various ways, such as attending a place of worship or having self-professed spiritual beliefs, studies show that religious people are, on average, mildly happier. Today, in the 21st century, the idea that studying Jewish ideas can lead us to more happiness does not sound at all bizarre, even in an academic scientific sense. How would you explain the correlation between happiness and religion?
Okay, so just to give a little, I think just an anecdote to that, I think it came out recently in 2009 that religion was never a part of like the American Psychological Association's like framework of treating patients, etc. Donna would be able to correct me on that if I was wrong, but she's not here, so I can just say it, and hopefully. But it was recently, I think in 2009, it was actually added as like an official category of study within the framework of psychology, meaning to say that we've come a long way in terms of like acknowledging it within the professional academic world as a way to, help with a person's overall psychological well-being and happiness. And I don't know, for some of you guys that may or may not take that for granted. And obviously, this is just one study, and I did notice he said mildly happier. Because the truth is like, you could be religious and also be a very sad person also. It's not exclusively religiosity, that it's about the right perspective that we have around it, I think. It's about how do we have to have the right perspective and the right view on it in order for it actually to be that religiosity could be used as a tool for happiness, as opposed to something that's just makes no dent whatsoever or can make us sadder, depending on your situation, So So this is actually this slide is really great because it actually kind of helps us summarize the course. So this is all these lessons that we did in the past really are different ways that Judaism, through Jewish practice and ritual and study, actually can help bring about more happiness. So this is verbalized gratitude was lesson 1. If you don't remember, didn't forget. Healthy self-esteem, that was lesson 2. Using your strengths, that was lesson 3. Trusting God, lesson 4. And happiness despite flaws, lesson 5. So obviously Judaism can encourage happiness through all these things. Now, what does lesson say? Social connection. Yeah, through social connection as well. So simple pleasure versus abstract pleasure. I think this might be related to the next. So let's just start reading text 2. This is some sources that's going to really help us appreciate the importance of joy in our divine, in the context of doing mitzvot, of actually like Jewish practice. Okay, 192, page 192. Jeffrey, you want to read text 2a? You got it. 192. That's what I meant. What did I say?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I said. Okay, good. Okay, go for it. Jeffrey, if you want, you can even read 2a and 2b if you want. It's because they're both shorter.
Joyful divine service, Psalms 100.2. Serve God with joy, approach Him with joyful song.
Yeah.
2b.
So, yeah, you can read 2b also in it.
Joy of mitzvot, Maimonides, Mishnah, Torah, Laws of Lulav, 8:15. It's crucial that we experience joy in performing a mitzvah and loving God.
Very good. So, basically, this is actually a very fascinating topic in and of itself. That joy in Judaism, you might actually be very surprised that it wasn't always. We didn't always take it for granted that that's an important component of Jewish observance. It was actually for the longest time seen as like a nice thing to be joyful, but not as fundamentally crucial to Jewish observance. Specifically because it actually says that you're not supposed. There's actually parts in the Torah where it actually says it's not good to be joyous, in certain contexts, etc. When it's not connected to divine service. But basically, the Hasidic movement really helped bring this idea out that really every single time we do a mitzvah, every time we connect, we do any mitzvah or serve God in any way, that we should be joyous. And it's a very big novel concept because it wasn't always like that. It used to be thought that, okay, maybe I should be joyous when I'm doing a mitzvah. Let's say I'm praying or doing charity or whatever mitzvah I'm doing, but then the rest of my day I can just be normal, right? Just not be happy. But really, it's a big novel insight that the Baal Shem Tov, the founder of the Hasidic movement, he taught that every single moment of our lives we should treat it as if it's like a part of our divine service. So therefore, when we see every moment of our lives as part of divine service, then it infuses. Then this quote has to hold true. So therefore, every single moment of our lives has to be filled with joy, and that's the idea. And this slide is really kind of just getting at the idea that that this level of joy that we're working on in this lesson is actually probably the most difficult and most abstract level of joy and happiness that we could reach. And that's why we say that till the very end, because it's not easy, and it's also hard to really learn to appreciate it. Kind of just like, I don't know if this is a good analogy or not, but like cotton candy versus violin, it requires a refined wine versus, grape juice, let's say. It requires training to actually appreciate the beauty of a more sophisticated. It's a very sophisticated, lofty pleasure to reach. So now we have to ask the question: how does doing a mitzvah make us happy? Also, we can even address question on page 192, how does religion. How do we connect have you guys always had that association between happiness and religiosity, or maybe you have found the opposite in life? Like maybe you found the opposite that you have a
Well, I think because I was always brought up with fear of God, and I never had any religious training, I was terribly afraid of God as this punishing, awful things that I would pay for in sin for everything I did wrong. And so it took me many years to kind of build up what I call my own spirituality. To me, I don't know how you would compare the difference between just having your own connection with God with being part of a religion, because I think for years I just was trying to develop my own.
Yeah, no, and for that, a lot of people, is, I guess what we're talking about is religiosity. I guess what we're going to get at to here is the novel idea of Judaism, which actually even differs within religiosity of other religions, is the idea of mitzvot. The whole idea of physical actions that are mitzvot, that are commandments from God, bringing about joy in a person's life because of the connection that those actions generate with God. So it's a very, very lofty thing. But like, why should doing a mitzvah bring joy? I don't know what kind of mitzvahs you guys like to use as examples, but let's say tzedakah, because that's a fun one. So you hear the clank of the coin. I don't know if the pennies are going to go out of extinct soon, so it's gonna. I don't know what it'll be, but at least we'll still have quarters. That you feel that there's a certain joy about doing specific mitzvahs, and even if you don't necessarily find that as a pleasurable activity, like I don't know if I like getting my blood pressure taken, but I do enjoy the mitzvah tefillin, not because I like the pressure on my arm per se, but because I feel a connection with God through doing that, or whatever mitzvah may be. Please add. Add what? Go. Please.
In the way that I understand it, anyway, it took about 4 years to kind of come to this conclusion. But for me, religion is your traditions, customs, group events, stuff like that. To me, spirituality is a one-on-one personal connection with God.
Exactly.
It took me a long time to separate those two.
Right.
It really did.
Right.
A lot of
I think you're going the right way. I mean, my personal, you might.
No, that's okay.
You might not love the whole globe of God, but there's a spot there that you can.
And I'm learning more about my own religion now, which I've never known over the years. To me,
and that's beautiful.
I never understood anything. Every time I would go to a temple, I would hate it because I didn't have any idea. I didn't know Hebrew. I didn't know anything idea they were saying.
It's like torture.
Like I'm learning a little more now.
Agreed.
And I think
before this, I just kind of built my own
Your parents
understanding
never
and
took you to
relationship
temple?
with God.
You never went to temple when you were a kid with your parents? Your parents didn't go either? Grandparents?
My grandparents were pretty religious.
Yeah, so am mine. They didn't even speak English.
really.
That's I had to kind of figure out my own connection to my higher power. But it was kind of outside of. I knew I was born Jewish, but I had to figure out my own relationship.
So does he.
I didn't grow up religious. I grew up traditional. So I went to like a Jewish day school, like a non-religious Jewish day school. But
I had to develop my own too, because my parents took us to temple quite a bit. But what we would see in temple and what I would see at home were complete opposite. They wouldn't practice what they talked about in the house. It was
the dissonance there,
different. And so I kind of took it as lip service.
Right.
And so after my bar mitzvah, I kind of like, okay, I'm done.
Right.
And I've never tied happiness to religion. Never.
No.
I'm 76 years old.
And that's still,
only the last 6 weeks.
I
mean, and I took it to kind of if I get this much out of it instead of this much
Yeah.
out of it, I'm that much ahead.
No, that's
You know,
amazing.
but, I never tied happiness.
And I think what's so beautiful is like, I think it's so beautiful. All five of us in the room.
I think you're doing fine, Diane.
No, you're doing great. I think all five of us in the room, it's so beautiful how we're all coming from different perspectives and different upbringings, and we like not necessarily like we all have this homogenous view of things. I think this really brings really great discussion. I think one of the biggest novel insights I want to try to express in this lesson is, a lot of people think that Judaism is all about just do the mitzvah and then just be done with it, and then you did your holy work, and then you can go on living your life. What we want, what really Chassidus, and what we're really tonight is actually on the Chassidic calendar. It's a very special occasion on the Chassidic calendar, but really celebrating with the novelty that the Baal Shem Tov and the Chassidic movement has brought to the world is that no, it's not about just doing the mitzvah and just being miserable and you're okay. That doing a mitzvah with joy is actually a crucial component to the mitzvah. And maybe to such an extent, I don't know if I'll get in trouble for saying this, but I'm joking. But to such an extent that like if you do the mitzvah and you're not joyous, that like you're really missing something crucial. You're not actually doing the mitzvah the way it's supposed to. How do you know? Like one barometer, maybe even to say like, are you doing the mitzvah properly? Do you have some joy while you're doing it? I'm obviously not arguing to say that, don't do any mitzvahs unless you feel joy. That being said, we need to work on cultivating joy in the mitzvahs. So we see in text 2a and b.
Well, there's a difference between doing a mitzvah because you feel like you have to and because you want to.
Yeah, no, for sure. And so this is the big paradigm we're gonna work on. The whole idea of these JLI courses is that every lesson is supposed to bring about a paradigm shift in the thinking, and we're gonna really work on that throughout the lesson.
If one does the mitzvah but they don't receive joy, is it still a mitzvah?
So that's a good question.
It's an obligation.
No, yeah.
I just had an experience this
Yeah.
weekend.
Please, this is amazing.
We were at this parade in Gallup. We went to the Bloom Festival in Gallup. And small town parade. And there's kids and they're throwing candy from all the cars that go by.
Yeah.
And there's this one little girl, she's probably 4. Her mother won't let her in the street to get the candy. So I went out into the street, and every piece of candy they threw that I could pick up, I put in her bag. But when it was all over, she came over, hugged my legs. Said, thank you. My God, that was the day. That's it,
That's beautiful. I'm just getting emotional thinking. That's so beautiful that you're able to.
I need to be nice to Jeffrey. It's hard.
I hear that a lot.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
Well, I still think of that little girl. I still think, could I just...
Yeah, please, just make it quick.
I think of this little girl when I was teaching in the Ball School District, which was a really poor district in South Phoenix. They had like this classroom for kids who had very severe emotional problems, like anger and things like that. So somehow I met this one little girl. She had to be like 7 years old. I don't know if I met her at the playground when I was doing duty or playground duty, but she just kind of attached herself to me, and she'd always come in and visit me. And one day she told me that next day was her birthday, and she had never ever had a birthday cake. So I went to Bash's and I was going to get a quarter sheet, but then I found out that they had the half sheet on sale, for the same price. So I go into school the next day, I bring her this half sheet, and she comes in the morning. She comes in the morning during lunch and afterward, and she said, "Oh my goodness!" And I said, "Here, take this to your class. You can share it." And she said, "No, I want to save it till the end of the day." And so she comes back at the end of the day. She lived across the street where I could see where she'd go in these projects, for people who didn't have money. I see this really pudgy, fat little girl carrying this giant cake she could barely carry, walking across the street and saying, "I have cake," to her friends and family. And it was so funny because, here I thought she wanted to share it with other students, but she just wanted to take it home. It was her very first birthday.
To show her family.
And I found out the next day I never saw her again.
Wow, she moved.
She moved. That was the last
Wow.
day. I said, what happened to her? And they said, that was her very last day.
That's
To this
amazing.
day, I hope I see her somehow in my lifetime, just to see
Wow.
where she's at now. But
That'd be incredible.
You know, it was like I couldn't describe her face as she's walking with this huge cake across the street.
Wow.
You know, Jackie, she was a special ed teacher, my wife.
Yeah.
And she just got in touch
Yeah.
with one of her students that she liked after 20 years. You know, she was sort of...
Wow, that's so special.
You know, she was functional and stuff. She's married.
Wow,
You know,
that's amazing.
So you must have helped.
A lot of nachas. Yeah, it's so special to see. But a lot of times you do a mitzvah. A lot of times you don't do a mitzvah and you don't see the results. And sometimes you do it and you see the results. And most mitzvahs, 99% of the time, you do a mitzvah, you don't see the results. So there has to be a certain level of faith that I'm doing it not necessarily because I know how everything's going to turn out, the result of that mitzvah, but that to believe that there's a spiritual impact on the world that I'm creating, no matter what.
And to see the joy in her face as she's carrying this huge cake home across
Yeah.
the street, being so careful not to drop it.
You got to give 30 mitzvahs every day to every class.
Yeah.
Jackie said there's plenty of teachers who just showed up and went home.
Yeah, no, definitely.
You were one of them.
The life stories I will never forget.
Good.
You know, I just remember being
That's
so
amazing.
happy seeing her walk across the street because she was so
Wow.
excited about this huge cake she got.
Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna move through the next couple sources quickly. Just look at these slides. Basically, joy. There's obviously the most basic level of joy is through just physical possessions, which was the first lesson. Relationships, but then what we want to work is. Oh, actually, really, the whole idea is that Judaism's joy is really a combination of both, the physical and relationships. Really, I get the what we really want to get at, the paradigm shifts we're trying to work on is that mitzvah is about a relationship. It's about connection. So the whole idea is that through doing a physical act, we're actually forging a relationship with God. Just like someone, like a loved one, asks you to do something, or asks you for something, or gives you something, just to feel that connection, and just in order to feel that connection. And you do it, it really creates that connection. So this is what mitzvahs are, in a certain sense. Okay. Did someone read text 3 or no? We don't have to read text 3, but why not? It's already in the text. I'll read it. We'll go clockwise this time. Cal Tiger. Oh, I'll just read it in English. As a deer longs for streams of water, so I long for you, O God. I thirst for God, the living God. When can I come and appear in God's presence? It's about creating this relationship. Okay. We are commanded to experience joy when doing a mitzvah. Dan, why don't you read text 4?
Contemplation sparks love.
Mm-hmm.
When we contemplate God's great and wondrous creations and perceive thereby His infinite wisdom that surpasses all comparison, we will immediately love, praise, and acclaim God, and we will yearn with tremendous desire to know Him. As King David stated, I thirst for God, the living God.
Yeah, so that's why it's so important. It's not just about just doing the mitzvahs, just following Jewish law and knowing what to do and what not to do, kind of like a robot. It's really so crucial that we actually contemplate, why do we have commandments? Why do we do this? Why do we do that? And that helps really enrich and enhance the relationship. We have to do it with joy. This is these. I'll just share this beautiful anecdote from very great Hasidic Rabbi. He said one atheist told him, I don't believe in God, and he answered back, the same God you don't believe in, I don't believe in either. Meaning to say that a lot of our perceptions about what God is or isn't is completely way off, and if for example, if whatever current perception you have of God brings about like negative feelings of sadness and unhappiness, that probably means that whatever concept you have of God might be a little off, because from the Jewish perspective, God is good. God wants our best. God wants us to be happy and joyous. So we have to find out what's the true definition of what is this relationship? What is this all about? Because it has to bring about joy. Because that's really the crux of this whole course, is that we are creatures that are designed to be joyous. And so if Judaism brings us the opposite of that experience, then we got a problem, and then we got to take this course. We got to get to the bottom of it. I think that's basically. Maybe we'll go through some of these lines quickly. Yeah. That's the famous line. Okay, why don't we read, Michael? Why don't you read text 5? Just a short quote from Eicha, Lamentations.
God is my portion. God is my portion, says my soul. Therefore, I will place my hope in Him.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay.
What exactly does that mean? I don't know. I've heard that before, but now that I think
Chelki Hashem Amra Nafshi. So I think what it really comes down to is, to a certain sense, what we quoted in the last lesson from the Tanya, is that we each have a spark of the divine. We have a portion of God inside of each of us. So you're like we're talking about our godly soul, right? The whole idea of us having a godly soul is that we have a portion of God. Chelki Hashem Amra Nafshi. So when you know that you have a portion of God within you, then it makes it like almost that much more desirable to have that connection. It's almost like, a child, when you have, obviously it's hard with David's situation, but just in general, just the general idea, when you have a child, because they have your DNA, it's like almost like naturally makes you have that desire to want to have that connection. It's just that much, it's because Chelki Hashem Amar Nafshi, because God is my portion, therefore it's reason to myself. Okay, the main reason I kind of went through those sources quickly because I want to get to text 6. This is the main one that I really want to do. This is so crucial. This is literally like fundamental, like Hasidic novel insights 101. Okay, David, why don't you read text 6 on page 195?
I got it.
Got it.
Text 6.
Mm-hmm.
Mitzvah equal connection.
Mm-hmm.
The word mitzvah is related to the Aramaic. Is that the right
Aramaic
word. Like I got a hard one, huh?
Yeah.
Related to the Aramaic word vista.
Yeah, tzavta, or tzavsa, or tzavta. Tzav. It doesn't sound like tzavta like grandmother, but not. It's meant tzavta with the tzadik son. Tzavta v'chibur means
Which means connection.
Good.
One who performs a mitzvah connects with.
God transcends time and space. That's we're limited by it. And so the whole idea is what makes mitzvah so profound is the very fact that God completely transcends time and space. God is completely beyond everything. So I'm finite. God is infinite. How can it be that so the very fact that God blessed us with this opportunity to connect to Him through a mitzvah, it's like the most cosmic, incredible thing we could possibly have, because He's giving us a way through our finite world to connect to the infinite. Absolutely incredible. Okay. When one asks another to do something, a connection is formed. And that's basically what happens with God. God bringing us connection. Okay. Jeffrey, why don't you read text 7? Mitzvot bring joy.
Mitzvot brings joy. Psalms 19:9, 11, and 12.
Yeah.
God's commandments are upright, causing the heart to rejoice. They are more desirable than gold, even the finest gold. They are sweeter than honey and the drippings from the comb.
Mm-hmm.
I too am careful about them, for in observing them there is a great reward.
Yeah. What I think what's really beautiful what we're doing here is we're just bringing basic Torah sources to show that not that mitzvahs should make us feel burdened or oppressed or whatever. It's like, oh, poor us, like the Jewish people, we have so many mitzvahs to do. Oh man, no, we should be blessed that we have so many opportunities to connect to God. Like, 613 commandments. That's absolutely incredible. We're so meritorious to have so many opportunities, right?
I think only 10 commandments. From 10
So 10. The way I like to think about it is it's like 10 would be like 10 general categories of commandments. Maybe that might be one way to put it. Just like amongst the non-Jews have 7 universal commandments. Jews have 10 main primary categories of commandments, and then within those 10 major categories, you have many, many, many commandments that are, that could be in those 10 general categories. A lot of mitzvahs, a lot of commandments. It's probably for the next course. 613 permits mitzvah provide us with more opportunities to connect. Many options in case one is difficult. So, for example, meaning it's not. That's another thing to remember is mitzvahs is not like an all or nothing thing. Like a lot of people feel like, oh, I can't do this mitzvah because of this or that reason. Like for whatever reason you're unable or unwilling to I can't just see myself doing this mitzvah. Okay, but there's 612 other ones that you could learn about or do, and so it's really beautiful to have all these opportunities. And within, I don't know how to remove my icon there, so I wasn't able to read that. Anyways, okay, Dan, why don't you read, or is it my turn? I guess, I don't know if I have to read or not. Let's read, Dan, why don't you read text 8, God's joy.
God's joy.
Mm-hmm.
Let Israel rejoice with its maker.
Mm-hmm.
The meaning of this verse is that we ought to rejoice in God's own joy, for God rejoices and is happy to dwell in our physical world.
Yeah, so this is a very fundamental concept from the Tanya, that just the very fact that we have this opportunity to make a dwelling place for God, make this world a holy, more beautiful place, make it a better place than it was before we came here, just through our mitzvah performance. That alone should bring us so much joy. Just the very fact that we have this opportunity. And this is actually one of this quote, is actually a very famous line because kids in the Rebbe, one of the great Lubavitch Rebbe, he taught Jewish children that they should memorize. Should be one of the lines of Torah that they should memorize, because it's just so fundamental to constantly remember that we should be joyous. Every single mitzvah is such an opportunity to make a diyar b'tach teinim. Yeah.
This is going to be off track.
Please. No, I love off track. That's all. Yeah. It's a good thing we're a smaller group. No, with a smaller group, these off track works. Actually, I think.
How do you, as a rabbi, and how does the religion justify the Holocaust?
So.
If God.
Yeah.
That was the ultimate punishment for something. How do you reconcile that? That's why it's hard to believe in God.
No, I know. You're right. And this is like, it's an extremely, no, for sure. No, but it's definitely a very valid, I want you to just understand that this is an extremely valid, important, crucial question. Like, it's absolutely crucial. It is a little bit off topic, though, but I do want to address it. Maybe, how about this? If we have time at the end, we'll try to address it. How about that? Okay, we'll try that. Okay. It's something, definitely something that requires a lot of discussion. But for me, it doesn't bother me. And I'm happy to explain why at the end. Why it doesn't bother me.
Sorry.
Okay, no, that's fine. Maybe I'll just say, as it relates to this course, even in the darkest parts of the Holocaust, there's stories of people sneaking in some flour to bake like a little matzah in like a little like oven, mini like fire oven that they made like in a little ditch somewhere.
That doesn't answer the question.
No.
Why did God take 6 million lives? Allow that to happen.
Well, okay, no. I know.
Forget the little baby.
No. You gotta let me finish the point I'm trying to make. I'm just trying to answer one point as it relates to what we're talking about right here. Is even in the darkest points, there's Jews that were finding opportunities to do mitzvahs, to serve. No. I'm not. This is not the answer. I'm not saying that this is the answer to your question. I'm just saying that there was. Relating to Hanukkah, there was Jews that literally was able to find they were able to save a little bit of the fat from some of the food they had in whatever rations they had, and then they found ripped off a little bit of cotton from their uniform and made little wicks to be able to light a Hanukkah candle for Hanukkah. Point is the Jewish spirit, no matter what adversity or things we go through, we have the opportunity to do mitzvahs. I know you're right. The only reason why I didn't directly answer exactly. That's why. Because there's some other things.
If there was an answer, I would have heard it.
No, and there's okay, but I can for sure. And then I think the one thing I will say for sure is that it doesn't disprove, because bad things happen to good people does not prove that God doesn't exist. That's for sure. It may have challenges.
That's a pretty big one.
It's not proving. It's not okay. Maybe it is a challenge of faith to reconcile everything, and there are people I heard there's this one very famous Rebbitzin that survived the Holocaust, and she says any Jew that survived the Holocaust and still believes in God after all that is the highest, most righteous tzaddik in the whole, the holiest saint, or I shouldn't say saint, but the holiest righteous person in the whole, because you're right. Who am I to tell someone to believe in God or not believe in God if they went through such a terrible thing? You're right. It's not my place, because who can only imagine? It's. I'll tell you. The only example I could give in a modern context is, I don't know if have you read any or saw any stories of recent interviews with Hamas Gaza hostage survivors. I recommend you go online and see some of these interviews that they're having, because there's a lot of them that are freed now, and they literally, what they experienced was probably next to equivalent to very Holocaust era-esque experiences, literally turning to skeletons, literally almost those levels things. And a lot of them said that they specifically in those places, they were before they were in the tunnels, before October 7th, they were completely secular, had nothing to do with religion whatsoever. Israeli, a secular Israeli is nothing like a secular American. They're secular, really passionate about how secular they are, very. But even people like that unfortunately were went through this situation, they came out saying, I specifically found God in the tunnels, specifically there where I found God. So you're right. I'm not going to be able to answer your question for sure on one foot, and definitely maybe never, but
along with the hostages, why did God even allow that whole event to happen?
No, you're right.
Children being ripped to pieces.
No, you're right. No, you're right. You're right. Okay. No, you're right. Michael, did you want to add anything quickly, or you want to?
You asked about the last interview I tried to follow. I had to stop. I couldn't even. It
was getting too uncomfortable to even watch. Yeah. No, it is very.
I couldn't even finish.
I know. Yeah, some of them. Yeah, you're right. Some. The graphics is too graphic.
Too much for me. I had to stop. It was very sad.
It seems like we are the chosen people, but I'm not sure what we're chosen for.
No, for sure. We're definitely chosen for something, and this might connect to the idea of hardship leading to even greater things.
Chosen people, and that's why people are jealous.
I don't know. I will say,
Agree with that? We've
Okay.
overcome a lot.
Yeah, we've definitely overcome a lot. That's for sure. Okay. Well, okay. So 199. I'll read this. Maybe I'll read this little thing on 198. Spiritual joy is not limited to moments of formal mitzvah observance. You have the opportunity to connect to God in everything we do and engage in all activities with a purpose-oriented mindset. Every moment of life can thus fulfill cosmic purpose and inspire joy. And so this is kind of like what I was saying before, is that the whole idea is that to change this paradigm of like I'm Jewish only one day a week, like for like a couple hours a week or something, you know, where I do all my Jewish stuff, and or once a year, depending on what kind of Jew you're, either once a year Jew, once a month Jew, once a week Jew, whatever. Or I'm Jewish when I come to this class with Chabad once a week, and then when I go, then I'm, you know. Or is it I can cultivate a reality that every single moment I am connecting and serving God. And so therefore, if you're serving God every moment, therefore Judaism demands that we be joyous when we're serving God. So therefore, if every moment we see ourselves as serving God, then every moment needs to be infused with joy. So that's text 9. Gosh, whose turn is it? Will this be Diane's turn, maybe? I presume?
I would get
Sure, go for it.
joy every moment. We should direct our hearts and the totality of our actions to one.
Oh, wait, 199.
Text 9, Diane.
199, text 9.
The one line above that.
In all your ways?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, in all your ways.
No, well, yeah. So text 9 is a quote from Rabbi Nachman of Breslov. Yeah.
Joy every moment. It is a great mitzvah to be happy all the time.
Yeah,
Good
so
job, Diane.
and this is no, so this is a very novel. This is a very famous Rabbi Nachman of Breslov. He was not a Chabad from the Chabad, but he started his own Hasidic movement. That's very famous. But it all is based on the teachings of the Baal Shem Tov and the Hasidic path in general. Okay, Michael, why don't you read text 10?
In all your ways. We should direct our hearts and the totality of our actions to one goal. Becoming aware of God, one who always follows this path continually serves God. Our sages instructed us regarding this matter, saying, Ethics of the Fathers, all your deeds should be for the sake of heaven. King Solomon, too, declared in his wisdom, know him in all your ways.
Yeah. So right now we have the second video. We're actually blessed to have 2 videos this week. And I'm going to use this video as an opportunity that if anyone wants to take a break, stretch their legs while they're watching the video, because then it'll help us just be a nice break before we go into the next. Let's see. There we go. Sorry, the volume.
Once upon a forest, there was a petite, rare bird, unlike any other. The creatures of the forest froze in awe at its enchanting songs. Its colored feathers rivaled rainbows and supplemented the sunset. But it was afraid of predators. And so the bird cocked its head heavenwards and appealed to its creator.
Look at your toes,
God replied.
I hereby add saber-like talons.
The bird glanced downwards and gasped in horror.
Oh
no, I am too tender to wield such weapons. Please remove them. Granted, said God. I'll make you a formidable beak instead. The bird peered into a nearby raindrop and recoiled at its reflection. My elegance is ruined. Please, God, do you have any other options? Infinite, came the reply. Try this for size. The astonished bird watched its petite wings grow long and wide into 2 powerful wings, shimmering with beauty and a lovely design. But the bird cried bitterly, Oh God, I requested a means of evading predators. Instead, you've given me massive limbs that will weigh me down like anchors. Little bird, came heaven's tender reply. They won't weigh you down. Try them out and you'll see. They'll raise you to the heavens.
You'll soar higher than you ever imagined. The bird tried out its new limbs. It swiftly rose above the forest, and its delighted song of gratitude was a wonder to hear. The young Jewish nation was petite and rare among the original forest of humanity. For God had selected it before its birth for a unique role on earth. It sung God's praises, surprising a pagan world. Its colors of conduct and accountability never existed before. But faith, prayer, and ethical conduct were insufficient. So God brought it to Sinai to reinvent its wings. Until then, it had but a handful of practical obligations. It now received the mitzvah, an entire series of commandments that stretch long and wide. Not for protection, like the little bird's limbs, but for connection with an infinite God. Many a Jew glances at the full body of mitzvah and gasps, "Why have you laid me down? These are anchors, cumbersome burdens that restrict my movements." But they are not. They raise a Jew above the jungle of corporal life. They allow her to soar into the heavens, to reach higher than she could have ever dreamed. She must only realize their function and purpose, and actually try them out. When she does, she will soar with joy on the wings of gratitude.
Don't you love these videos?
Yeah.
So what was your takeaway from that? Jeffrey had to head out early, but so my takeaway at least was that the wings are like mitzvahs, like a analogy for a mitzvah. That you think that the mitzvah is gonna weigh you down, like it's like, oh hey, why are you putting all this stuff? It's like, hey, this is just gonna weigh me down, but you don't realize like no, it's for a greater purpose to fly and connect even greater. So.
But first the bird turned down 2 mitzvahs.
Yeah, that's true.
It wasn't the right one.
Yeah, maybe.
I think that's part of the lesson.
Maybe.
Well, you have to find the right fit.
Maybe everything is in a mitzvah.
Yeah.
Well, it's a mitzvah, but it may not be the mitzvah for you. Like it's one of the 613.
Or it's trial and error.
Sounds like a book.
Life is trial and error, so they had to find what was appropriate or worked.
Yeah.
Is this mitzvah for you? It's a good book.
No, I mean,
It'll be my retirement.
everyone has different mitzvahs that they excel in more, beautify more. So wings. Yeah, so it's actually funny because Hasidic teachings actually compares the two mitzvahs of loving God and having awe for God as like wings of a bird, and like the body of the bird actually to be like the rest of the mitzvahs, because like it's the awe and fear, the awe and love actually that helps the mitzvahs go from like just like a dormant, lifeless action to being something that's full of spirit and soar. So anyways, that's also interesting. Okay. So the mitzvahs help us demonstrate how every existence is a reflection of God's wisdom in order to conquer every corner of the world to create a dwelling place for God. Who wants a long quote? A long one, text 11, page 200. Yeah. So we're actually just one thing that that is also like so beautiful, just as a practical thing. Like we already spoke about, in the first lesson we spoke about Moda Ani, just having general gratitude. But the general idea, like before you do any mitzvah, before you light Shabbat candles, there's the blessing, Lahadlik Ner Shel Shabbat, for a lot of the mitzvahs, not all of them. But for a lot of the mitzvahs, you have a blessing beforehand that actually help us really like internalize and reflect on the significance of what we're about to do before we do it, which is also so crucial, like to actually have that meditation contemplation, even if it's for like a split second before we do it, not take it for granted. Okay, whose turn was it? Purpose brings inner peace, page 200. Don't make me read it. No, I'm just kidding. In the Zoom lesson, what I did was I had, after everyone read something once, I think everyone was just tired of reading. But are you guys tired of reading? You want me to read, or go for it?
We're good.
Great, Michael.
Yeah, well, yeah, go ahead.
I'll take it.
Yeah, you'll take text. Yeah, Michael, you'll take text 11. David will take text 12.
Oh, I'm 11, right?
Right.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. Purpose brings inner peace.
Uh-huh.
When we do not feel the purpose in our lives, that we were created to serve our Maker, we cannot have a true sense of inner peace and tranquility. The continuous changes of time and location and the myriad details and sub-details within our lives cause a constant unrest that fragments us in different directions. When we acknowledge the purpose that lies within all of these details, which transcends the ebb and flow of life's changes and movements, it brings us tranquility and thereby human completion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think a lot of the theme of this lesson is creating really like sewing together the different pieces of our lives and to not see it as fragmented. One thing I have noticed just on this is a personal anecdote to reflect in my life, because like, you know, when I was younger, like I noticed it's just so much easier because you just, you know, you're told what to do, you do it, and you kind of just go from one thing to the next pretty seamlessly. And I feel, for me, I've noticed, maybe you guys have had different experiences, but notice that like you're living like, almost feel like I'm living like 10 separate lives, like 10 individually, you know, like I'm going like totally, completely different. My experience as, you know, teaching this class versus my experience, you know, at home with my kids, with my wife, or, doing my taxes or whatever it may be. Like I feel like everything is just can feel fragmented. And so I think the whole idea is to have this holistic, comprehensive view on life is that really it's all within this perspective of mitzvahs, meaning everything's a mitzvah. And I guess as long as you're not doing it in avera, as long as you're not transgressing God's will, you have the opportunity to perceive what you're doing right now as a mitzvah. You mean you're doing it with that idea in mind, and therefore you have the opportunity to infuse joy into that moment. I think that's the way I would put it. It's like, hey, we're doing a mitzvah of, you know, being there for my family, or a mitzvah of, organizing, cleaning out the garage, whatever seemingly mundane task might be, you can infuse joy into that moment because it's just about changing your perspective shift and creating a certain way to make it more of a divinely connected experience. And so then that makes it that then when we have this whole universal, when we have this singular view of viewing all of our actions throughout the day, then it's less, it's much healthier because it doesn't create any friction it creates much less friction in our lives. Because we all see, like, for example, I remember, like, it was one guy was telling me he worked in software, let's say. So, like, he didn't see going to work, like, he was also a very religious person. So he'd pray in the morning, he'd learn whatever, and then he'd go on his computer and start working on his software. He didn't see, like, working on his software any less of serving God than his prayer and learning in the morning. Obviously one was more spiritual and the other one more physical, but like it's all one holistic viewpoint, one comprehensive just way to see the world. That's all serving God. Okay, I hope that brought that point. So this slide, mitzvah allows us to draw down godliness into the world, experience pleasure and joy, bond with God. Okay, I think this text 12 might be the last, almost the last. Yeah, pretty much. I think text 13. Actually, no, we have two more. So, David, why don't you read text 12? This last idea is about self-expression.
First, the heading. Self-expression is a crucial component for our well-being. Merely pursuing pleasure will not nourish our higher needs, especially those of the godly soul within us. The joy that comes from actualizing our spiritual self is therefore essential, as it answers a need that material life alone cannot fulfill. When a plant is fully provided with all it requires for growth, earth, water, air, etc., it is liberated from all its worries and concerns, so to speak. Although it is immobile, doomed to remain rooted in place for its entire lifespan, it nevertheless enjoys the full freedom that a plant can experience. It is truly free despite its lack of mobility. That's pretty cool. An animal, however, is different. Even if its needs for food, drink, etc. were to be provided, it would feel horribly restricted, imprisoned in the harshest manner if it were to be immobilized and forced to forever remain in one place, for it would be denied one of the primary features of its existence. The primary feature of a human being is intelligence. Humans would feel imprisoned even if granted full freedom to mobility if they were denied their primary aspect of being, the freedom to utilize their intelligence and live mindfully. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, it's a real perspective shift. And I think that a lot of this connects to like the relativism like we were talking about earlier. Like suffering is all relative. And I think in any moment we have the ability to perceive our personal lives as either one, it's like, oh, poor me, I don't have a private jet. Oh, poor me, I don't have, or whatever. Obviously I'm going to the extreme, but we can see our lives filled with extreme amounts of blessing as long as we live to the fullest of who we are, which is human Jewish people that have intelligence and purpose, and utilizing that to the fullest that we are able to. So maybe I'll just play this slide. Life becomes full of opportunities, spiritual and physical. We have so many opportunities, growth opportunities, so many different mitzvahs, et cetera, et cetera. And then the last slide, going through the motions, triggers the emotions. And that's I'll help with this. I'll read the course conclusion. Okay, having enhanced our happiness by changing our attitudes and perspectives, we now turn to one final actionable method. Act cheerfully, and your inner disposition will follow. In both how we think and how we live, joy is something we can continue to expand. Okay, so this last text on 13 really is, in a certain sense, it flies in the face of everything we've discussed this entire course, because the entire course is about how happiness thinks, with the whole premise being that we have to have a positive thought process and mental, experience, and then that will lead to positive emotions. But sometimes you're stuck in a rut, and sometimes like nothing will be able to get you out of it, right? So sometimes you just have to do an action, just start dancing. Just even if you have no reason, the famous line of, they say it's the name of Rabbi Nachman of Breslov, but it might be, there's a big debate who's the actual author of this quote, but like, if you have no reason to smile, smile anyways, and then God will give you a reason to smile. Meaning, sometimes there's truth to the whole idea of everything we've spoken about in the course, the whole idea of contemplation, having that perspective, and learning about all these concepts to really help generate, a long-term sense of happiness. But that being said, sometimes you just gotta just be a happy person. Just be happy. Just smile. Just start dancing. Just play. Just do something that will help you be happy, and then they'll help you snap out of it. And then all the rest of everything we've spoken about in the course up until this point will follow. So, actions affect emotions. Okay, I will read. At all times, assume a demeanor as if your heart were full of joy, even if at the moment this is far from the case. Such behavior will eventually lead you to truly feel happy, because behavior and action impact the heart. So there you go. So behavior and action impact the heart. And we sometimes, we just have to, fake it till you make it. And it's funny because, it seems like a funny way to end off the whole 6-week course. Fake it till you make it, that's all. But it is sometimes a necessary tool to have at our disposal. So I think it's just worthy of mentioning at the very end. So without further ado, I think you guys deserve a huge round of applause, huge pat on the back for making it through all 6 weeks. Maybe before we hand out the certificates, I'll just play you guys the trailer of the